guys who do the toughest work count on one heavy-duty truck more than any other, Ford Super Duty. Logging has been a way of life in the Pacific Northwest for generations. From Miller Timber in Oregon to Anderson Logging in California, the guys who work in forestry have a lot in common. They work on steep, rugged terrain where conditions are often slick and treacherous, and they rely on Super Duty trucks more than any other make.
They do their job. That's why you see a lot of Super Duties on logging sites.
And I've driven everything out there, and this thing is it.
Out here, you have to be ready for anything.
Apparently they hit a stump or something and it busted.
When equipment breaks down, it needs to be replaced fast.
We gotta have these carriages working.
They count on the Super Duty to get the broken carriage swapped out and a new one up and running. Logs are hauled up the mountain where they're stripped and stacked. Semis move the heaviest loads. But what happens when they get stuck?
Pretty regularly we get stuck because of the inclines that we deal with. We had one just yesterday, trailer in the ditch on one side of the road, truck in the ditch on the other side of the road. And you wouldn't think that a Super Duty truck could help you much, but often it's just enough to get us where we need to go.
The Super Duty's torque converter locks up at low speeds, using RPM more efficiently, generating torque when you need it, like right now.
If we can't get where we're going, then everything comes to a halt, and a Super Duty truck for us is a pretty important tool.
To survive this kind of daily punishment, a truck has to be as rugged as the terrain.
I think Super Duties are popular in logging because of their durability. They're holding up, they're tough. Based on the solid front axle and either leaf springs or coilovers, that setup has just been a lot tougher and held up a lot better out here. Different manufacturers weren't working for us.
These days, no business can tolerate inefficiency. Logging is no exception.
Fuel economy has just been excellent. I'm getting 16 miles to the gallon. All stop and go. There's no freeway running.
It doesn't seem possible that you can have that much power and that great a fuel economy at the same time. It never was true before this motor.
Harvesting is only half the job. The crew works just as hard to restore and maintain the forest for future generations.
After final harvest, the land is prepped for replanting. At age 10 to 12, we'll cut out the brush and thin the trees out. If the forest is let on its own, it will eventually overcrowd, decay, and what it will end up with is a wildfire.
Even with every precaution, fire can still break out, and a quick response can be the difference between a minor singe and devastation.
We have typically 3 to 4 6-packs is what we call them, and that's the 350, 250 Super Duties.
When the crew gets a call, they don't know what the conditions will be. The best equipment means being ready for anything.
Kind of the lifeline of the firefighters getting us to and from the jobs. We need that kind of reliability and trust.
The guys out here have to trust their trucks. That's something Ford Super Duty earns every day.
We'll get 300,000 miles on a Super Duty. They've outperformed every other brand of vehicle we've tried.
For a firefighter, it can be the difference between our lives out on the line.
It's just an extremely dangerous occupation, and we need a vehicle that's going to be just as tough as we are.